Rabbi Shimon Gmaliel Ma'aseh B'Tzeidah Chulu. Shimon Gmaliel says that there was a story in Tzeidah. So the question is, my tana diktani ma'aseh. In other words, what happened was there was a story in Tzeidah, and a person told his wife, in order for you to give me my cloak, and his cloak was lost. And the Chum said she should give the value of the cloak. That's enough. So the question is, my tana diktani ma'aseh. What do we? All of a sudden, there's a story, but there was no relevant din. There was, I mean, it was in general. It was about this, about giving conditional money, like extortion, and so on. I'm calling it extortion. But where do we see anybody talking about cloaks and so on? The Gemara answers, there's missing words, and this is how you have to say it. If he told her, in order for you to give me my itztala, my cloak, and it was lost, he meant that he needs his cloak, and therefore she cannot get divorced. She has to get a new get from him because the itztala was lost. However, Shimon Gmaliel argues. Shimon Gmaliel says he could give the value. There's a story in Satan with a person who told his wife, "This is your get on condition that you give me my cloak." And his cloak was lost. And the Chacham said to give the value. Okay. So we see he argues and he backs up his argument with a Maisa, with the story. That's why it's relevant. Rabasi asked Rabbi Yochanan a question. If a person says, if a person says, this is your get on condition that you give me 200 zuz. And then he went ahead and he said, it's mochel, it's forgiven. You don't have to give it to me. Now, this is an eisen shaila. This is a big question. In other words, he said, this is your get on condition that you give me money. Then he says, I don't want the money yet. It's fine. Just go. So is the mechila, does the mechila, the mechila sabal, the fact that the husband forgave the debt, does it make it as if she gave it, or does she still have to give it? He can't be meichel the get in order for the get to come to place. He can't be meichel the money. Can you be meichel the money or can't you? Okay, so this is a question. It's a question both according to the Chacham and Shimon Gmaliel. This, the Chacham said that if she lost the cloak, it's no good. That's only if he did not forgive it. But in this case, he told her that it's forgiven. Or maybe even Shimon Gmaliel was only talking about that she's appeasing him. You can't entirely not pay. You have to give something. You have to give at least a value, maybe according to Gmaliel. So Rabbi Yochanan answered him, it's Ein B'Gudeshes. No, you cannot do that. If he asks for money when he gives the get, you have to pay the money if you want the get to come into play. But if you don't pay the money, Ein B'Gudeshes. Esve, we have a question. Okay. Someone who tells his friend, you're going to be forbidden to have any benefit from me unless you pay up to my son a quart of Gittin and 2 barrels of wine. That sounds a little ridiculous, but maybe we're talking about a guy who mamish has a lot to give. So he says, you're not allowed to have benefit from me unless you give my son a massive amount of wheat and 2 barrels of wine. Abimir says, you're not allowed to have benefit from him until you give him the money. He's able to be matin and nether even without a chacham. he could say, I'm Michael. He could say, I'm Michael. You don't have to pay up. It's fine. I'm Michael. He's allowed to say that he's Michael. So it's a question. We see when it comes to neder, when it comes to neder, you can be Michael. You can say it's as if I got it. So why don't we say the same thing by a get? Why is Rabbi Yochanan saying that you can't do the same thing by a get? That the husband can't say, oh, it's as if I got the money. And the get is a good get. Why don't we say that? Ochiyashta says the Gemara, how can you compare? Over there in that case, the whole purpose is to make her suffer, and she didn't suffer. The purpose was to make her suffer. The reason why he's making extra conditions on the get is to make her work hard for it, and she didn't work hard for it, so you can't forgive it. Here, however, he needed it for his son. Ultimately, he didn't need it, so he's able to be Michael. Mashenkin there, where B'shas Maisa, when he made the tonight, when he made this condition, he said that you have to give my son so-and-so, you have to give me so-and-so, it was to make her suffer, so you can't take that away. We have a story on Gavra. There was a person. He told his artist, his sharecropper, the ganze Welt, they water the field 3 times a year. And they eat a quarter of the field. You, however, if you water it 4 times, you can eat it a third. You can have more because you're watering it better, so there's more crop and so on. The answer is the pshat is the arisim, the sharecroppers, because they work the field and so on, they get a percentage of the crop. You, however, who should do it 4 times, and then I'll give you a third of the field. So what happened was, the seif also mitzvah. There was rain. So instead of him watering it, Hashem watered it. So does he get the extra percentage? Does he get a third, or is he downgraded to a quarter because he didn't do what the guy asked him to do? Rav Yosef wanted to paskin. The guy didn't do the job. He should get riva, k'minhag hamokim. He should get a quarter like everybody. Rabba Omar, halo yitzricho. Rabba says it's his mazel that caused. His mazel caused that the field didn't need it. He got his end of the deal done. Hashem helped him. Maybe Rav Yosef was like the chum that he had to do dafka what the guy asked for. For example, in the case of the cloak, you have to give dafka the cloak. And Rav Yosef and Rabba is like the Shimon Gamliel that as long as you give the value, as long as you get the value. The Gemara says, I'm
coming in late. Where are you? I apologize.
Oh, yeah, I'm in Miami. No, I'm joking. And I am in Miami, but we're in Daf Ayin Daled Amud Beis.
Ayin
Daled Amud Beis 74b.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Ooh, it's a little too hot for me in Miami. I'm not going to go there in the summer.
12 lines on the bottom. Yeah, it is too hot. I realize I would not like to live in Florida. It's just too hot.
Must be about 40 degrees or so.
I guess Canada weather did something to me. Canada is too cold for me, but Ottawa is too hot. I mean, Florida is too hot.
It's a nice cool day today. It's a nice cool rainy day today.
I think Jerusalem has very good weather. I like Jerusalem weather. Yes. Besides for the hottest summer months.
Okay, where are we?
Rabba Omar Lema Rav Yosef Batisbaro.
Okay, got it.
It's going to be hard for you to understand. Okay, I guess I'll give a little background anyway. A review. Basically, in the Mishna, there was a machlokes. There was a machlokes of Rav Shimon Gamliel and the Chachamim. We explained that even though it doesn't say the Chacham Shita, but we added it in. That if the husband said, "I'm giving you a get, I'm Manasi, give me a cloak," and then the cloak got lost, the Chacham say, "Eina Megadeshes." She can't hand over the cloak. Eina Megadeshes. Rav Shimon Gamliel says all she has to give is the value. So we have a case that there was an artist that he was a sharecropper, and the guy said, if you water the field an extra time, 4 times instead of 3, I'll give you more. Most people get a quarter of the field as their part. I'll give you a third. So the guy was about to water it a 4th time, and then all of a sudden it rained. So he didn't have to. So does he get the third instead of the quarter, or does he get the quarter like everybody else because he didn't do it? So according to Rav Yosef, he doesn't get it. According to Rava, he gets it because it's not his mazel helped him. So we want to say that Rav Yosef holds like the Chachamim. The dafka need to give the cloak. So to here, he dafka had to water the field. And just because it rained doesn't help him. He didn't do it. Rabbi will say maybe like the Chachamim, like Rav Shimon Gamliel, that no, you can give the value. So on that, the Gemara says with Tispera, let's analyze this. L'chayro, the halacha is like Rabba. However, over here, the halacha is not like Rav Shimon Gamliel. So how can you say Rabba holds like Rav Shimon Gamliel? There's a contradiction. Really, everybody holds like the Chachamim in the case of the get. Rav Yosef clearly holds like the Chachamim, that you have to do exactly what the husband said. But Rabba will explain the difference between the 2 cases. I hold even according to the Chamad, whenever they get, he was obviously trying to cause her tsar. He wanted her to suffer a little bit. Here, however, it's harvacha, and you don't need it. And he doesn't need it in the end. It rained. Okay, we're on the bottom. We're now on the wide lines, the top of the wide lines in Bavli 74b. Tanan Hasan was taught in the Mishna, but Yishayna Haydit Man Yom Shnei Basar Chodesh Kedei Shei Chalut Loi. In the beginning, basically, someone who bought a house in an Irchaim. So there's a din if you buy a house in Bati Orichaima. Most fields, for example, you get it back by Yovel, but not a Bati Orichaima. Not if you have a house in Irchaim. I don't know exactly how that worked with the division. Like, you probably make a mistake drinking coffee. I have a 4-hour drive, and I might need to go to the bathroom in the middle. Anyway, let's not get distracted. So if you, I don't know how it worked with the Yerusha and with the way they divided up Eretz Yisrael, like how did somebody get a part of an Arichaima? But when they would build these cities, if it was in an Irchaim with a city surrounded by a wall, maybe it was only the cities that were surrounded by a wall from the times of Yeshua ben Nun. I'm not sure what the din is. So if you buy a house there, as long as you don't, the guy has up to 12 months to redeem it, to get it back. If he doesn't redeem it after 12 months, then he loses it forever. So Rashi explains, the person would hide. You want to get it after 12 months, so you would hide for 12 months. You wouldn't be able to find the buyer. You wouldn't be able to redeem it. In the beginning, they would hide for 12 months so that they would be able to keep with their acquisition. Hiskin Hillel Hazakin. Hillel Hazakin established. I guess they still had the din. They still had the din of Bati Arichim in the times of Hillel Hazakin, which is interesting. Even in the times of the Bayis Sheni, I guess they had this din. It probably did. I suppose it didn't depend on Yovel, because Yovel stopped already by the Bayis Sheni. So he established all he has to do is throw the money into a certain lishka, a certain special room, and then he would break the locks. Well, they say Vayeshever he'd break the door of an Nichnas and come in. Whenever the guy wants, he'll get the money back. It doesn't make sense for the guy to be able to hide so that you lose your house forever. So he's misakin, you pay to like to a certain place, and the money will be there waiting for him when he wants to take it. It's interesting. It took 1,000 years to do that takana, until Hillel Hazakin's times. The Yomer Rava says like this. From the Takana of Hillel we can learn. Rashi explains what's the nekuda, what's the bottom line of the Takana of Hillel Hazakin, that you could do nisina bal karcha, you could give against the guy's will. If a person says, case of our Mishnah, this is your get and condition that you give me 200 zuz. She has to give him and he has to receive it, be willing to receive it. But if he doesn't want to receive it, he could change. There's a loose end here. He can basically say, I don't want to take the money. It has to be midaito. How do we know this? Miditzrich lehilo liskune. Nisina bal karcha dehavila nisina, off on the fact that Hillel had to make a special takana to say that you're able to give against the guy's will, even not to him, but to Alishko. Michlal, we can learn from here. Michlal the Be'alman nisina bal karcha lo yahavya nisino, that if you give against the person's will, generally where there's no takana, it's not considered a nisino. And Rashi explains he didn't make the takana by get. Get this isser. It's a different story. It's eshes ish and so on. You don't want to make takanas there. Oh, interesting nikudah. So that's Rava. Rava says the fact that he had to make a special takana by bati arichoima, by a get, you can't give against the husband's will. He has to be willing to receive it. We're on the top of Ayin Him with Aleph now, 75a.
David, that allows psychological torture. The guy says, "I'm going to give you a get, but you got to give me $10,000." She scrapes together $10,000, and then he says, "I'm not accepting the money." It's psychological, and he's stringing her along.
100%.
That's what that is. Why didn't the rabbis figure that out and work on that?
Let's finish the sugya. Let's see what they say. But you're right. There's a lot of cases in halacha that you do wonder, like, why not? Why didn't some take care of the disadvantage? I guess he's saying if they're able to make takanas, why not just make a takana to help the downtrodden, the poor woman? So the Gemara asks,
I'm not criticizing the rabbis. I'm just saying
trying to understand.
There's got to be more to this.
Right. So we'll see. The Gemara speaks about it. Rav Papa and some people say Rav Barashi asked. It's an Eisen point. Over there, the guy was hiding. You can't find him. So how are you supposed to give it to him? He's not there. But in a case where the husband, as long as he's not hiding, who says you can't give it to him against his will? Some people have a different version. But Rava says like Rav Papa according to the other version. It is an asina to give against the husband's will. This that Hillel needed to be misakin was to put in the lishka where the guy's hiding. But if you're in front of him, whether he agrees or he disagrees, it's an asina. Yeah. Now
they took care of it. There you go.
Right. That's what. Yeah. We're not done. So the Gemara asks, according to this version, the question of Papa is different. Maybe not. Maybe the sin is not good about karchai. Maybe Hillel was misakin. He went all the way, even if the guy's hiding. But maybe by a get, you can't give against the guy's will. Okay, so that's the end of the Gemara. The question is, what is the halacha? Because you got into this, it's interesting. I guess we'll take a look quickly. This is in Ibn Ezra, Sim Kufim Gimel Sif Dalet. Let me take a look. I'll look in the Sefaria. Sim Kufim Gimel Sif Dalet. Ibn Ezra. Actually, maybe Locha. Shapanorach. Ibn Ezra. What is it again? Sim Kufim Gimel is Hamagadash al Tanai. Siv Dalet. Omer lo Menashe Titne Misayim Zuz Me Kanvan Lamed Yoim. And also Lemesich Shlishim Bal Karchai. When it's a lekabel, if she gave it to him against his will and he doesn't want to receive it, her days a get puzzle. It's a get puzzle. So the halacha is actually what you don't like. That's considered a get puzzle. Nesina Bal Karcha is considered Nesino B'di'eved, but it's a get puzzle midrabanon im nisas leiteitze. If she gets married, if she goes in and gets married, she doesn't have to leave her new husband. Now it has to be b'funav. If it's shalei b'funav, then it's mamish not good. I hear your question. No, I hear your question. Okay. Your question is valid. You're stringing her along. You're able to string people along. Is it a nice thing to do? Is he going to be nice in the sadin when he goes up to Bezdin Shamayla? Of course. Is it the right thing to do? Of course not. Is it a kosher get? It's not. Just like, for example, if a husband doesn't want to give a get at all, of course that's a terrible thing to do. And it's not fair. But the fact is that, what's it called? Fact is, it's not a get. But I hear your question. Why couldn't they make a takana for this if you made a takana for that? That's like the big question you can ask about a lot of things. Why didn't the Chum make takana for this, to help this, to that, no, so on? It's interesting. Any place that it says from Shimon Gamliel in the Mishnah, halacha kamaisa. This is a klal and shas. The halacha is like him. Chutz mi'orev v'tzeidon v'raya achrayna. Except for 3 cases. Orev is a din in get pashut, in the end of the parak get pashut. Tzeidon is the case of our Mishnah. The din of the guy says you have to give me a cloak, and then the loss of cloak. Could you give the monetary issues? I wish I had Lakutei Rashi. Okay, and Rayach Roino is, let's see, Rashi says Rayach Roino is in Maseches Sanhedrin. There's a machlokes if the Gabi Rayas, if they told him all the rayas that you have to bring until 30 days, and he didn't bring it until after 30 days, and then they said bring your raya, and he says I don't have a raya, so the halacha is like him in the first case, and the second case halacha is not like him. I'm not sure what that is. So this is one of the cases, one of the 3 cases where the halacha is not like Rav Shimon Gamliel. All other places the halacha is always like him. I think this is the Rav Shimon Gamliel who's one of the Asar Harugei Malchus. Ton Rabbanan was taught in the Brayso. He wants to give her the get, but he says the paper belongs to me. He's a stingy person. It's not a get, because Vinos and Biod, he has to have Nesina, and if the paper belongs to him, he's not giving her anything. But if he says, in order for you to return to me the niyar, the paper, then Megureshes. So the Gemara asks the obvious question, what's the difference in the ratio of the Seifa? This is the opinion of Rav Shimon Gamliel by the case of the cloak, that he says instead of giving the cloak, you could give her the money. So in this case, instead of returning the get, she could appease him with the value. So that's the answer. The reason why, if he says, I'm giving it to you in order for you to return it to me, in such a case, she got it, and then she can pay him back the value. Whatever it's worth, a coin. Maskifla Abaya asks, Rav Shimon Gamliel says, if the cloak was lost, it's gone. Does he say it where it exists? Doesn't say where it exists. Here, the get is still here. She can't just give him money. The reason why, if he says he's giving you the get, but you have to return it to me, it's fine, is because this is the opinion of Rav Meir. You need a T'nai Kafel, which means in order for you to give me the get back, but if you don't, then it's not. He didn't say if you don't, it's not. So because he wasn't koifel, it's not a good T'nai. It's only because he didn't double over the T'nai, the condition. But if he had doubled over the T'nai, it wouldn't be a get. Where do we learn the T'nai from Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain? If you'll cross the Yarden, you're going to get the thing. And if you don't cross the Yarden, you're not going to get the thing. I've called tonight couldn't the Maisa Lefuchot, the Maisa couldn't with Tanai. Here, however, he says the Maisa before the Tanai. He doesn't say, if you return it to me, it's going to be a get. He said first, this is your get in order for you to return it to me. So he spoke about the get before the Maisa. So it's not a good Tanai. Anyways, it's not a good Tanai. Rava says the reason why it's a get is because the reason why the Tanai doesn't come into effect to stop her from being divorced because she has to return it is because the Maisa couldn't he mentioned that she's divorced before he mentioned it tonight. Now it's interesting. All the other cases also, we said, this is your get in order for you to give me money. Nevertheless, we didn't say that the Tanai is canceled. So it's interesting. Now we're trying to say the reason why it's a get, even though she has to return, is because she doesn't have to return. The Tanai is not considered a good Tanai. It's not a condition. It's only because he mentioned the get, the Maisa Haget before the Tanai, before the condition, but if it would be vice versa, then it wouldn't be a get. Let us see. The Tanai has to be one thing, which is of Havodas Hayarden. The Maisa has to be something else, to inherit Ever Hayarden. Across the Yarden. Afkoil, so to everything else. So that includes our case. The Tanai Maisa b'davar echad. In other words, the Tanai is to return the get. And the Maisa is about the get. That's very interesting. He says if the Tanai, the Maisa b'davar echad, about the get, even though it's not mamish the same thing, but because it's about the get, the Tanai is about the get, to return the get, it's not a good get. Oh. So Tosfos explains differently. He says like this: the top of Ayin Hamid base. Here, the Tanai is soisa the Maisa. It contradicts the Maisa. Why? Because the get is only chal. He's saying the get is only chal after the Tanai is fulfilled, but then she no longer has the get. Tosfos differentiates this from the case of an esrik. If you say this esrik is a gift in order for you to return it to me, it's not considered Tanai Maisa b'davar echad. Because when you say almanas, it's me'achshav. When you say the word almanas, it's me'achshav. So the matana is chal, and you're yoytze with the esrik the moment you get it. Mashaken in the case of the get.
But David, as long as she has the get for a few minutes, if he says this is your get as long as you return me the paper or whatever, the fact that the get was in her possession for a few minutes, is she not divorced? Even if she doesn't have the get anymore, because in other places they would have to tear up the get because of the gezerah.
Oh, so this is the final answer to the Gemara. Very good. Omar Ravashi, Omar Homani Rebbe Hidobra Vunomar Rav Kolebra Manaskim Machshav Dami. This is a Shitas Rebbe. The reason why she's divorced is because Adarabah, she is divorced now. La'achar Zman, she's returning it. And Rashi says, Matana almanas la'achar shmo matana. She's returning it later, but she's divorced now. Almanas means now. So I don't understand Tosfos why he's saying the esrik, the case of the esrik is different because almanas means now. Adarabah, here also it says almanas. I don't understand. But yeah, that's the answer, like what you're saying. She's divorced when she gets the get. Later on, she's returning it. As long as she had it during the moment of the divorce, it's fine. Matana almanas la'achar shmo matana, like we say by esrik.
In our times, can she not for example, take a picture of the get and give him back the get? And she has all the signatures. She has it's not the original, but it's almost the original.
Oh, in case she needs to show it as proof to anybody?
Yeah, take a picture.
Take a picture of her holding it, I guess. The best is to have witnesses. But yeah, I don't know if a picture is valid because they didn't see him giving it to her. She might have found it in his desk. You know what I mean?
No. But now she has the get. He said, this is a get, but you have to give it back to me. So she has the get for a few minutes. She takes a picture of it. I'm talking about in the 21st century. And then she gives him back the get. Then
right.
She had the get in her hand and she also has a copy of the get.
Right. Yeah. I'm just saying halachically, I don't know how valid that would be for her to have a picture. Even if you have videos, I guess, I don't know, modern technology, it's not as good as witnesses, but yeah, a picture is good. It adds, definitely adds. It would be good. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Asking Shmuel begit to the Shchiv Merah. Shmuel was misaken by the getter of a shchiv merah, someone who's deathly ill, and he wants her to be divorced a moment before he dies. Im lo mesi lo yehi get. Im mesi yehi get to double over the t'nai. If I don't die, it's not a get, and if I do die, it is a get. If not, then the t'nai won't work, and she'll be divorced immediately. And then if he's a kohen, he's not going to allow to live with her. I'm not going to get a big bottle. Why doesn't he first talk about imasi? Why does he start talking about imasi? If I don't die, start talking about imasi. He doesn't want to talk about death before he talks about not dying. It's better to say if I don't die first. Say, why don't you say it won't be a get if I don't die? Instead of saying if I don't die, it won't be a get, say it won't be a get if I don't die. What?
What do you mean by that? There won't be a get if I don't die?
There's a shipment. A person is deathly ill who only wants it to be a get for a moment if he dies, a moment before he dies. So say, first talk about it not being a get and then talk about not dying. Why first saying if I don't die, it won't be a get if I won't die? What?
If he recovers from that, there won't be a get.
Yeah, because he wants to live with her. He just doesn't want her to have to go through Yibum or Chalitza. So the Gemara answers, Binin T'nai Ked on the Maisa. You need to have the T'nai before the Maisa. Maskefla Rava asks a question. Michti, let us see. You have to talk about the T'nai before the Maisa. If I don't die, then it won't be. So Rava asks, all the T'naim, all the conditions is from the T'naim of Bnei Gad Bnei Ruvain. So Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching us for all all generations. The problem is Shmuel made the lav before the haint. It has to be the other way around. Rather, Rava says like this: if I don't die, it's not a get. If I do die, it is a get. Oh, first you say imloy mesi lo yeget, then you say imesi yeget, then you say another time imloy mesi lo yeget, so that you have the hein koydem lulav. And he explains. The Gemara explains. Imloy mesi lo yeget. The reason why you're starting with imloy mesi, if I don't die, it's not a get. Loy maktim inish purnus lanafshi. You don't want to start talking about dying. Imesi yeget, imloy mesi lo yeget. Bin hein koydem lulav. Then you say again, if I will die, it will be a get the moment before I die, and if I won't die, it won't be a get because you need the hein koydem lulav. So you really have to say three things. First, the lav, if I don't die, because you don't want to talk about death. Then death, because you have to have the hain, the yes, like the positive, like the get coming into effect. And then again, in loy mesilay, so that you have the hain, koydem the lav. Okay.
What I'm getting from this is it's so easy to mess it up. Just stay married.
Yeah, just live. It's true. Even Shmuel, I mean, I wonder what Shmuel will answer to that. I mean, how could Shmuel make a mistake? It's our Ian. I don't know. All right, I guess we'll stop for today.
So we're at the Mishna, right?
Yeah, we're up to the Mishna.